fading. Since he's lost to Buffalo, dropped him to 4-9, and Baltimore not that much better at 6-7. So easy to say, both of them are desperate for wins. Now, in the division, the Steelers are the odds-on favorite, leading at a scorching hot 7-6. Ravens a game behind them. Cincy at the bottom with plus 1,700 odds to win. Time now to welcome in CBS Sports NFL writer John Breach. And John, you wrote a column for CBSSports.com about how a team from the AFC North could win the division at 7-10, which is crazy to say, right? Because we always think of this division as stacked. Hasn't been the case this year. Let's start with Joe Burrow in Cincy. How would that happen?
Well, first of all, Chris, the Bengals would have to win out. And based on how they've played the last 2 weeks, that is certainly possible. We saw them beat the Ravens on Thanksgiving. They had the Bills on the ropes before imploding in the fourth quarter. And so when you're the Bengals, you're sitting at 4-9. If you go 3-1, that's how you get to 7-10. That's how you win the division at 7-10. You have to beat the Baltimore Ravens. You have to beat the Cleveland Browns. So those are 2 of your 3 wins. And then you can split those middle games between the Miami Dolphins and with the Arizona Cardinals. So if you go that way, you go 3-1, you get to 7-10. Then you need the Pittsburgh Steelers to go 0-4. Well, look at Pittsburgh's schedule there. They got the Dolphins. The Dolphins are red hot right now. The Detroit Lions. You got to go play Cleveland, one of the best defenses in football. And then you have a rematch with the Ravens. So that's certainly within the realm of possibility. And then you look at Baltimore's schedule. They have to go 1-3 with that 1 win coming against Pittsburgh. And of course, the Ravens play the Bengals on Sunday. We're looking at the schedule here, followed by the Patriots and Packers. So again, 1-3 isn't that crazy. And if all of that happens, that would put the Bengals in the playoffs at 7-10. And since the schedule expanded to 17 games back in 2021, we have not seen a 7-10 team make the playoffs. We have an 8-9 division winner a few years ago with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but 7-10 hasn't happened. And I do think if that were to happen, or even 8-9, we would see a proposal this offseason about possibly changing the seeding format. We saw one earlier this year, but it didn't pass. So right now, if a Bengals team that finished 7-10 won the AFC North, they would get to host a playoff game in the wild card round.
That is just unbelievable, especially the way the Bengals started their season, obviously with Joe Burrow being out for so long. Now, how about on the other side for the Baltimore Ravens? What would a 7-10 AFC North title path look like for them?
Yeah, the Ravens absolutely can also win at 7-10. Let's get the Bengals out of it first. If the Bengals go 2-2 or worse, they don't hit 7 wins, so you don't have to worry about them. So now it just becomes Baltimore and Pittsburgh. And so what the Ravens would need is for the Steelers to lose out, obviously, because the Steelers already have 7 wins. They're 7-6. You go 0-4. Now you're 7-10. And then the Ravens lose on Sunday against the Bengals, lose to the Patriots, lose to the Packers, and then you get to that Week 18 showdown that maybe the NFL puts on Sunday Night Football, where you would have a 6-10 Ravens team facing a 7-9 Steelers team to win the AFC North. And if the Ravens were to win that game against the Steelers, then Baltimore gets in at 7-10 as long as it is a head-to-head tied with the Steelers. So they would get in. Again, it is possible. This isn't likely, but it's in the realm of possibility, Chris.
Yeah, this is a nightmare scenario for the NFL, because I'm sure they do not want to make another rule change based on how the AFC North shakes out. Now, in your Week 15 picks column in predictions, you tabbed the Dolphins as a team who could upset the Steelers on Monday Night Football. For the Bengals and Ravens, they need the Steelers to lose. So why does Miami, though, have a chance to win after the way they start up the season so poorly?
Well, we know the Dolphins are one of the hottest teams in the NFL right now. They have won 4 straight games. But we also know if there is one team that hates playing in cold weather, it is the Dolphins. They have lost 11 straight games in sub-40 degree weather, dating all the way back to 2017, and that includes playoff games. Tua has been bad in cold weather. The coaching's been bad in cold weather. The Dolphins have just been a disaster in cold weather. So now, why would I think they could pull off the upset on Monday night in Pittsburgh in the middle of December, where it's going to be cold? I actually think that Mike McDaniel has kind of been looking toward these cold weather games trying to figure out how he can get his offense to play better. And what they have done during this winning streak, we are looking at it right now, is they've kind of pushed Tua to the side where they're not asking him to do everything. And instead, they're leading on their rushing attack. And Devon Achane has just been going off. And we're looking at that. That is first in the NFL over the past 4 weeks at over 190 rushing yards per game. So you take that offense, that rushing attack that has been red hot, and they get to face a Steelers defense that has given up over 200 rushing yards per game over the past 2 weeks in 2 straight games. So teams have just been steamrolling them. We saw last week, TJ Watt said the Bills were just running the same play all game, just giving it to James Cook, and he was getting big chunks, and the Steelers couldn't stop it. So if the Dolphins could do something similar, they put up huge numbers, and if they get going on the ground, that is the path to their upset. You don't have to worry about the weather if you're running the ball well. I think Miami can do it, and I think they can pull off the upset, Chris.
Yeah, this division is far from being decided. Going to be plenty of chaos down the stretch between these teams. Now, who ends up realistically, though, winning the division?
Yeah, we went through the scenarios that say, hey, the Bengals could win it at 7-10. The Ravens could win it at 7-10. When it boils down to who I'm actually picking to win this division, I think it is going to be the Pittsburgh Steelers. I feel like they probably go 9-8. You look at their schedule, they have the Dolphins this week. They have the Detroit Lions in week 16. So 2 difficult games coming up. But as long as they beat the Browns in week 17 and they beat the Ravens in week 18, that feels like it will be enough to get them in. And if they slip up in one of those games, there's a very realistic scenario where 8-9 wins this division. I don't think that would be that shocking, but I do think it will end up being the Steelers. Maybe Mike Tomlin keeps his track record of finishing over 500 alive. Maybe he doesn't, but I think he would take 8-9 if that means the Steelers get in the playoffs.
Oh, yeah, everybody would, right? Because you feel much more confident as a coach when you're playing in the postseason or coaching the postseason as opposed to watching the postseason. John Breach, always appreciate that much. So an absolutely loaded slate this Sunday on CBS. 2 10-game winning streaks are on the line as the Patriots host the Bills at 1 p.m. Eastern and the Broncos hosting the Packers at 4:25. We'll also see the Bengals and Ravens battle it out with their playoff hopes in the balance. You can stream all the action on Paramount Plus and make sure to tune in to CBS Sports HQ for pre- and post-game coverage.
It was the night before game day. All through the land, fans tuned into Netflix remote in their hands.
Touchdown!